All right, we are live. Ashby, how you doing?
Doing great, Randy. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. This is our 75th. So I don't know in wedding terms if they have platinum or something like that, but anyway, it's a special one for us. Our 75th podcast here of Tech Sales Insights. So thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, and thanks for all you're doing, Randy, with the sales community, man. It's a big deal, and congrats on all your success.
Great. Well, thank you, and thanks for your help and support over the years for sure. So Ashby is the CEO and co-founder of Veristor. In case you couldn't tell, we're sponsored by Sendoso, and we'll talk more about them, but it's a little bit more than swag. And they sent me, I totally love this, so I'll try not to be too obnoxious, but send it. It's just great. It's like, you got to get that like for the deal guys, and also just other examples of some things. You got the Yetis, you got the glasses, and on the one hand, it's swag, but much more importantly, really helps with supporting new customers, helping with current customers, and again, Ashby will go through some key things there. So the plug for Sendoso is that they're the leading sending platform, help companies stand out by giving them new ways to engage with customers throughout the buyer's journey. By integrating digital and physical sending categories, companies can increase the effectiveness of their existing go-to-market programs and improve their relationships with customers. So from a high level, it's basically automating and putting into kind of CRM, helping with pipeline by giving out swag and gift cards and fancy events. I heard the other day somebody did a lead gen event sending rocks, and they actually were able to get people on the call. Actually, like, why the heck are you sending me a rock? So just all kinds of cool things that we do. And again, Ashby will tell us more about that. And the title for today is Integrators and VARs, bringing value to end users and vendors. So we definitely look forward to that. I try to do the math, and I probably had hair back when we first met each other, but I think we've known each other for about 35 years. We're both together back at EMC, and back in the day, Ashby was definitely a top systems engineer down in the DC area, and from then on, I'd say never look back. And he's been a very solid family person, great friend, certainly fantastic professional executive for sure, and have had the occasion of being with his lovely wife, Brittany. His wife, Sandy, daughter, Brittany. And matter of fact, I just sent a picture of Brittany and my son, Tommy, from 2013. They both look like little kids, and certainly grown up to be old for sure.
Yeah.
And she also, I don't know if it's okay to say, but both are very proud that she was a former Miss Georgia as well. And also son Ryan and Ashby Jr., who's also in the business as a director of marketing. So certainly keeping it in the family as well. So Ashby is highly respected channel CEO, thought leader. He's built a fantastic business along with three other great guys, Murray Granger, Steve Bishop, and Jim Glukert. And no offense, Ashby, but I know you maybe you could have done on your own, but definitely having that foursome has made and will continue to make Veristor a leader. So why don't we maybe start off having you tell us a little bit more about your professional background?
Yeah, I was fortunate to get started, and it was funny. I started out at a company called Lead Data. I actually told this story yesterday, and Lead Data was headquartered out of Minneapolis, and they were what they were known for was the first color terminal. So this is definitely going to date myself, but back in the day, they had the old green screen terminals and an amber screen terminal. Lead Data was known as the first 4-color terminal. So the primary colors were the terminals, and it was a big deal. I was an engineer for them, and and you'll like this. I worked there in New Jersey, and I met the guy who ended up bringing me to EMC, getting me to come to EMC, and that was Steve Alferis. And
Alf, yeah.
Alf. So Alf was also an engineer at Lead Data. He left, he went to EMC, and he kept calling me about, you got to come join this great company I'm with. And And I just kept saying, no, no, no. I can't. I love what I'm doing, and I'm making $11,000 a year, and I'm getting 6 cents a mile for mileage. And then finally he wore me down, and I ended up joining EMC. So then I was at that time I came on to EMC, and I was the only engineer on the East Coast for EMC. And then from there I went into sales at EMC, and you were one of my first mentors, and I learned a ton from you, and a lot of the older guys from Peter Bell and Dave Donatelli, and then later on Riles, Chris Riley showed up, and so just learned a lot from a lot of guys there, and taking some of that EMC sales culture and brought it forward because it just it's so good. And then I ended up leaving EMC and went to the first integrator experience. And the reason I left EMC was because as an OEM, as a manufacturer, I knew a lot about a little. I knew a lot about our product, one thing.
Yep.
Right? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to widen my knowledge as a business person, and I wanted to learn a lot more about business, not just the product. And I knew there was an opportunity to go do that with an integrator. And the other thing was I wanted to take advantage of the relationships that I had established with those customers. See, one of the challenges as an OEM salesperson is when you build that relationship to become successful, and when you sell that first deal, you are also a lot of times left with nothing else to sell them and take advantage of your relationship. And
Right.
so anyway, I'll probably talk more a little bit about that. And then from EMC, I went to Storage Dimensions, which was kind of a poor man's version, another manufacturer of EMC. Great technology, really high sales culture there, made a great product coming out of the Novell space into the Windows NT space. And then there's where I met Steve Bishop. And then Steve and I went and started our first company, which was World Store. And that's where we were competing with the old storage networks, S&I with Peter. And World Store were the first two storage service providers out there, and which was a pretty crazy time. Raised a bunch of money through venture capital, and ended up after the .com became the .com, sold off some of the patents that we had done, and then it was about figuring out what we want to do next. And what we wanted to do next was, and through our travels, we were very, very unique in the fact that we were experienced to what it was like to work for a manufacturer. We were experienced when we did World Store. We were also an end user. I think we ended up buying probably 12 or 13 Symmetrix boxes and SRDF all over the country with Exodus and AboveNet and Equinix data centers, providing storage services for all those co-location facilities. So we were an end user, and then but in that model as a service provider, we became that value-added business partner to the OEMs directly to the end users. So one thing that's made us very, very unique and has been helpful to end users as well as manufacturers is that from each side of the table we have experience, and we can help, and we understand what people are trying to get to. So this has everything to do with how we started what I think is the best solution provider model that you can have, and this is important for manufacturers as well as it is end users. And that is, we wanted to go out and help customers figure out the best technology decisions that they can make back in 2001, and not necessarily be tied to one specific manufacturer, regardless of the name on the front. As long as it was the best solution and we could save them money, we just felt like we could really help people, and people were starving for that conversation. So we started the company in November of 2001. And if you go back to then, if you were around doing business then, we were in a down economic climate because it was the post.com. We were kind of depressed.
Right.
And then the other thing that happened in that year was 9/11. So 6 days later, we started this company, and you combine post.com with the 9/11 event, our country was pretty down in the dumps. And that's when we started Veristor, because we felt like we were going to go help people save money and increase technical functionality. So that was our method, and we've been hitting it ever since. And,
Great. So why don't we pause, because we'll come back to Veristor. We always encourage people, we already have some in Tucker, if we can start pulling them. People post any comments and certainly ask any questions. And of the people that you mentioned, obviously Ferris, great. Peter Bell's at a BC Black Tie with him last Thursday. Donatelli just saw, he's actually not on LinkedIn. No idea why, but it's actually his birthday tomorrow. So if anybody's listening, I want to say happy birthday to Dave. And then Riley's nearby here. And I think probably on that list, you probably also include Jim Sullivan.
Absolutely. That's
so make sure we include everybody here. So anyway, so from Jesse, what's the best quality of top sales leaders you've found?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in sales leaders or any type of leadership of leading by example. You've got to, even myself, going out and getting in front of people and still being involved. People will, if you're not willing to do something, then it's hard to ask that of somebody else. And
Right.
So sales leaders that are not afraid to go out there and lead by example, no matter what it is a big deal. I certainly think people that drive the right kind of activity. I think leaders that have big picture perspective at the center of every decision-making scenario is really important. People make really poor decisions when it gets short-sighted. Crazy endings to quarter because people are short-sighted in what they're asking for, and the only way to make the really great decisions is big picture perspective. So I like leaders that have big picture perspective because that lends to the best decisions made, and then people that lead by example.
Great. Any come to mind specific individuals?
Well, I mean, people that I've learned from throughout my career. I mean, you played a big role. You were a big mentor for me coming out of the engineering side at EMC into the sales side. And, one of my things I always remember about you, Randy, was just a big time note taker. Everything was written down, and I was like, wow, he's writing down everything. And I've been taking notes for 30 plus years now. So Dave Donatelli was one that I remember, picking him up at the airport in Washington and spending a day with him numerous times, going from account to account to account. And I remember sitting there as a young person learning the trade. We're in an account, and the first 20, 25 minutes, we're talking to this prospective client about boats and where he's from, and we had a connection. And when I got in the car, and I felt like Dave was going to just tear me up because all we talked about was, where I grew up with, and this guy grew up there, and Dave goes, what was the most important part of that call? And I'm like,
trick question.
Oh no, trick question. And he goes, when you connected on all that personal stuff, you took our chances for success. I mean, from our own 20-yard line to their 20-yard line. And he goes, don't underestimate that connection. And that has been at the core for me.
Awesome. I think that's a send it moment. Yeah, awesome. Really, really well said there for sure. Let's see if there's something else I was going to ask, but I forgot. Anyway, we actually have from Peter Bell. It's really special to see how Ashby and his team built such an enduring business at Veristor over 2 decades and multiple major technology shifts. Huge congrats. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how do you, as things change, right? So you start out, I would imagine kind of as a, product reseller, one or two lines, and that is always good to feed things. And we'll eventually get into what our topic is here, but, kind of how do you see the next shifts coming?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First off, it's great to hear that from Peter. Back in the old World Store days, and Peter did storage networks, chasing Peter for a long time now. So, and worked with Peter's brother Brian quite a bit over the years too. So that's hey Peter, great to hear from you. I think one of the keys, first off, just looking back over the 2 decades, I think it's really, really important for all of us to just make sure that you're always changing and don't be afraid of change. You have to stay relevant, especially in the technology space. again, if you look back to how we started as a storage-only integrator, we weren't even selling servers because we're like, go buy that from whoever you want. When it comes time to the protecting your data, it sits out on a disk drive, and that's where the real decision is made. And then today, we've had to reinvent ourselves many times where we brought on VMware partnership, and that led to servers and computes, to networking today and security. So always changing, and to be relevant, to take advantage of those relationships that you spent a lot of time and effort in building, and always bringing them those differentiated discussions. And they trust you. You know what you're talking about. You always bring a right conversation to the time that everyone's spending. But I would say that you got to make sure that you're staying, and don't be afraid to change, but make sure you're staying on top of what new things are going to make a difference for people.
That's great. And I would imagine it's a little different now than when you started, but you probably have a good problem to have of a lot of vendors, whether they're large incumbents that have been around for a while or up and comers, kind of knocking on your door. So kind of good news, bad news, right? Because you want to make sure you're not getting too distracted, but it must be a fantastic opportunity having people come to you.
No doubt. I mean, I think over the years we've established ourselves as a next generation technology service provider. And if you had a startup technology and you were in the Southeast US, I think Veristor was one of the places that you came to. It's like, if you want to be successful in the Southeast, make sure Veristor gets you into their partner program and represents you. And I think that we've been really proud of that, no question. So yeah, there's probably 200 plus OEM relationships that we're managing today. And those are, you gotta, it's funny, Bish and I, Steve Bish, we've been together for a long time too. And I've said it takes more than one thing, and so is he, that to make a good partnership from an OEM. They can have the best technology in the world, but if the channel can't make money off of it, it's not going to go anywhere. At the same time, if it's all about money and their technology isn't great, that's not going to go anywhere either. So two things that we look for in manufacturing partners that want to get our mind share, and I think that of other solutions integrators that can move the needle for them, is make sure that your product is going to be different and disruptive in a positive way for customers. And also make sure that people can make money on you, because when they make money on you, you become important to them, and they will give you the time, and it'll come back to you tenfold.
Gotcha. I don't know if you want to comment or not, but if you assume it's a great company, product offering, solution, stable, and all that good stuff, kind of what are the margin expectations these days from your part? And I assume there's a kind of the product level margin, then also kind of what else can you make on the services side?
No, absolutely. You're always looking for, as an example of, and I had this conversation this morning, license resales. I mean, that's just all that 10th business. And you're just transacting. You got to have people to do it right. You got to pay people to do those things. But the services drag that would come along with that, getting up to 6, 7x on product sale versus services sale. We love that model. That's a big deal to us. So that's kind of that. I would say on the traditional, you get these registration programs out there, and you see those go from anywhere from 20 points to 35 points in extreme cases. And sometimes those are good, and sometimes you got to go, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
So you just got to make sure, it's funny, going back to 2001, Randy, when we started this business, no manufacturer, there were 2 manufacturers that had registration programs. Nobody else did. And there were only 2 because the guy who did the first one left and started the second company and took the reg program with him. And I was a gentleman by the name of Diamond Laughlin, who started out at Qualstar and then went to Nexan, and he took that registration.
Gotcha.
And then the industry today, there isn't anybody that doesn't have it.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, we're getting lots of questions in here. So Tucker, let's keep ripping through them. So another one from Jesse, should marketing report to sales?
That's a great question. So, I mean, at our company, sale or marketing reports to sales, and but if they don't technically report to sales, they absolutely have to be close in what they each do every day. They have to work very, very closely together. Marketing with campaigns and generating lead initiatives, all those things feed the engine, right? And so if they're not reporting to sales, they have to be closely in sync with each other and knowing what each other are doing.
Yep.
And people need to support the marketing efforts. If you have events, you can't just not show up for those things. You got to participate in them. You get in what you put in. You get out of those what you put in. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Tucker, next. All right.
My gosh. Rick Canale.
There you go. Did you ever figure out how to use a voltmeter?
Gosh.
Lots of congratulations, your success. So I'm sure it's a longer story. Why don't you give us a short version?
Oh my goodness. Randy, I'll tell you.
Or you can pass.
I'm going to tell a little bit of it, but I had dinner last night. I literally told this story at dinner last night with people. I was at Lead Data, and I was in a training class up in Minneapolis for about 6 weeks, and gave us our tool bag. And in that tool bag, anyone who's been through this, you open it up and there's a voltmeter in there. It has all these different dials and settings, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? And so on a break, I didn't want to ask it in front of the whole class. I didn't want to be embarrassed because I didn't know how to use it. So I just assumed, like, golly, I guess everybody knows how to use this thing. So I waited to a break, and I went up to the instructor, and I go, hey, how do I use this? And the instructor goes, put that away. You'll never use it. So, so I put it back in there. I'm like, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. Until I got to EMC, and I ended up having to troubleshoot mainframes and all kinds of things. And needless to say, I ended up needing to use it a few times.
There you go. Kind of helps you look credible as well.
That's an old right there, and Rick Canale. He's a good man. That's an old EMC guy right there.
There you go. Yes. All right, Tucker. Should SDRs use cold text messages, or is this too aggressive?
So
meaning like do your reps do text messages? Do they call people's cell phones for that matter?
Yeah, we got text message usage with absolutely. I think it's a new way. It's not the only way, but yes, we have. It's certainly, if you're in a text message relationship with an end user, you're certainly reached a point of relationship that they're obviously comfortable with doing things that way. And I think it's a big tool. Absolutely.
But let me ask you, say in this case, so for sure, if you have a relationship, yes, but say if it's just, you're cold calling and making up, into Home Depot, right? Would your reps text, or use cell phones to do cold calling if it's a kind of net new?
Yeah, I think if it's net new, I would think that approach is too aggressive, and I think it would be met with a negative response more times than a positive one. I think you reach that relationship where it's acceptable to do a text message that's all day long, but I wouldn't go at somebody like that.
Yeah, I agree for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Great question, Jesse. Thanks, Tucker. From Kelly. There you go, Kelly Osborne. It's been great working with you in Veristor over the years, and not to forget, I worked for Randy at HP. Well, as I say, nobody worked for me. I worked for everybody else. So for me, it's you put the triangle upside down. So anyway, thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly's one of the. He was an engineer in a past life that's spent a large part of his career in the sales side too. So he's a blend of both good things there.
Awesome. All right, from Wendy, who's your in the prep. Wendy, you'll be happy to know that Ashby was saying great things about you, and it took me a couple times to hear and write down your name. You were Whitney for a little bit, but now you're back to Wendy. All good, of course. So anyway, Wendy says, good answer. Ashby Marketing is heavily engaged with sales at Veristor, so this works for us.
Yep.
Fantastic. I mean, we see a lot where, if they are separated, you have the, kind of debate. And a lot of times it's more the measurement system where you have marketing's focused on MQLs. I've got some, sponsor for sales community say, well, marketing, we're focused on MQL. So I said, so you'd rather have, 500 or 1,000, individual contributor reps, say, for some webinar or something, as opposed to having, 15 or 20 CROs. Yes. And then you talk to a sales leader, like, what, are you kidding me? No, if you can get us CROs that we're trying to sell to, absolutely, we'll take, 10, 20 of those versus, 500 or something else. So, tied into this, as you kind of said before, is making sure there's alignment around kind of the goals and metrics. And obviously they want to sell, but a lot of times, a lot of companies are just, for lack of better words, ass backwards. So, Wendy, you certainly figured out. Then you have a tough crew to make happy. So the fact that they're happy means that you must be really awesome. So great job, Wendy.
Yeah.
And I will be following up with you, Wendy, by the way. All right, Tiger, keep going here. Marketing team Veristor utilizes Sendoso and love this prospecting engagement platform. Highly endorsed. So great segue. So I think you're telling some great stories. So why don't you send it and tell us how you're using Sendoso?
Yeah, I mean, we've all, you end up having that good prospect call, or something comes up and you want to, we've all sent a gift box or a thank you to somebody. Just could be a little thing, could be more involved. We've all done that in our careers as salespeople and trying to, as relationship builders. And Sendoso automates that process. So for us, a couple things where, I think I mentioned it earlier. It could have been before we went online here, but if you come across somebody as an example that is expecting a new baby, as a sales rep, they have a monthly allowance from Sendoso account. They can go right in and click the baby gift delivery box, and it could be, I think we got a Veristor onesie along with other baby gifts in there, and it just makes a big impact. Next thing you know, your prospect or customer is sending you pictures of their baby and their onesie, and it's just been a big hit for us. And we've been with them for about 3 years. I would highly recommend Sendoso to any selling organizations. It can really streamline the impact and support of your customers and save you a bunch of time.
That's great. What about maybe tell us in terms of getting some net new meetings? I think you've been successful leveraging, not to give away all your secrets, but gift cards or Starbucks gift cards as well.
Yeah, with Sendoso, I mean, there's absolutely there's a $5 coffee card, Starbucks card, what have you, and you send it out with a campaign, and the customer will accept a call and an introduction into whatever subject you're trying to get in front of them. Then they get a $5 gift card, and we had a tremendous return on that. And so just another example of something that's really easy to do.
That's great. And then I don't know if you do or not, but they can actually tie into your CRM as well. So you can show that you sent out 100 different net new accounts with those gift cards, and you can actually see what the results were, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it plugs right into Salesforce, and we can see what our rep activity is. We can see which reps are taking advantage of it, who's running out of money, who's not using it, and then we can go back and help them. And that was a great opportunity, that guy went to Alabama or that guy went to Duke, right? And why not send them, something with a Duke koozie? It just makes all the difference. Something that you would take time to do in a one-off scenario, but it just automates it and makes it just go. Yeah.
Awesome. So great here. All right, Tucker, we're going to try and keep up here. This is great. Lots of great questions and comments here. So from a LinkedIn user, hello, Ashby. What are the top 3 attributes you seek in acquiring top sales talent? What would outright rule a candidate out of contention? From Rick Diana.
All right, I'll start with what would outright rule a candidate out of contention. I would say a person trying to convince me how great they are at sales, but they argue over their base salary.
Love that.
Right?
Yep.
You can't be an awesome seller and then argue over a base salary. I mean, some of the top earners that I've ever worked with, even to this day, have 0 base salaries because they're banking on themselves. So,
Yep.
I've interviewed lots of salespeople, and when I get into a discussion over a high base, then that is a red flag. So I will just say that they should be more interested in things like, is there no cap on my comp plan? Um, things like that. So that would.
Gotcha. So that's a negative on the one hand. Other hand, that would be a positive. Maybe one of those three attributes. So if somebody cold calls you right now and says, "Hey, I've got great account base, great relationships. I'm happy to go zero salary. Let's meet." You'd be all over that.
Be all over it. I think I'll go back to attributes out of the EMC playbook. I love athletes. I love people that are competitive. I love people that you can tell that winning and losing means something to them, and it will drive them to success. A competitive person in the sales industry, right? You got to go after it. People that aren't afraid of hard work. People that have done hard work in their life, and they'll run through a brick wall. And what that means is, because I've done it, and we got people here at the company that have done it. Randy, you've done it. Run through a brick wall, write a proposal all night, get ready for that 8 a.m. presentation. But at the same time, you got to have fun. And so people that are fun to be around, optimistic thinkers, hard workers, competitive, bank on themselves. Those are all really, really green lights for me.
Absolutely. Great points there. All right, Tugger. You got from Peter. Hi, Ashby. Great discussion. Can you share how you are attracting and retaining talent? This is a top of mind issue for all the CEOs I'm working with.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, right? Well, I think it's a lot of things. I think one, culture is one that I hate to. It's an overused thing, but it's still, and it's an evolving thing too. Especially with the pandemic that we've gone through, and how it's changed culture, and things that we're going to have to do with not being able to, in a lot of cases, be together every day in the same building. There's going to have to be more quarterly events and times where we can get together, more marketed, intended type of offsite type of thing to maintain that culture. So I think it starts, Peter, with culture. Work hard, play hard is an overused thing, but boy, it still is very applicable. We've been, as our company, we have ridden through this pandemic phase really well. I think culture has gotten us through. We've created a place that people want to go be. They don't want to hang out in their spare bedroom. I think that's really important for all companies to put out there, and make sure that it's a place that we're trying to create that people want to go, that has positive energy. That will help attract and retain people more than anything. I would also say, just create opportunities for people to that are never, always work on ways to make people feel special about, if they blew it out, make sure you recognize that. And I think word of mouth for us is such a good thing. I think our people that have worked with us over the years, I think we have a fabulous reputation. We've got a lot of people that have joined us because they got to see who we are.
Absolutely great. And I think we have from Eddie, probably just answered the question, but congrats, Ashby Bish and team. Great company culture and agility to change the landscape, best-in-class products, hardware and software. Speak your ability to maintain the culture and success over times of change. So anything besides what you already said, and anything else that you would add?
Well, just shout out to Eddie. Randy, he's HP. You guys may have overlapped in your time.
Yeah, love Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's fantastic. And so, hey, Eddie, miss working with you like we used to back in the 3-part days. And it's I just talked about this with the changing landscape. We got to continue to just all work on making sure that our culture is, for not just here at our own company, but for everybody out there. It's got to make sure your culture is a fun place to be. People will go and hang out and have fun. They'll be happy. More happy people lead to more productive people.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we have from Peter Brennan. Hey, Peter. Ashby mentioned registrations, program, and technology as key areas for vendors. What works well for your team when working with vendor frontline selling teams? How's this been working during the pandemic?
Yeah, that's another great question. Hey Peter, another great guy to work with. So registry. So my thing has always been, and if you've been in this industry, you've had it done to you from an integrator side, but registration programs are really important because we will take all kinds of resources that can make the difference at an account around a project. We will bring A players. We will bring people that can really take care of the customer and help them make the best decision. And all the registration program does is that if once we convince the customer that this is the right solution and they are comfortable with that, we just know that our money's good. We're going to be paid for our work. Nothing is more frustrating and deflating than doing all that work for somebody only to have a manufacturer come in and undercut you, because that's the short-sighted thing, and it doesn't work. So registrations are important. And we know that at the end of the day, we're going to be rewarded. Then we'll go and put our best foot forward with the right people to get to the right conversations that benefit not just us, but benefit the customer and benefit the manufacturer as well. So very important. I will say that HP, and I've said it many times, specifically, I do not spend, nor does our selling team spend time worried about HP doing something wrong as it relates to a partnership and registrations, and they should get a big shout out for that. And that allows us to use all our brain power to go after the project and go get that thing.
Yeah, that's great. Any people in particular, PBM or channel leaders at HP, you want to give a shout outs to?
Oh, well, I mean,
putting you on the spot.
Well, I mean, a lot of the folks. I mean, I'm not in the front lines as much as I used to be, but certainly, Eddie Bridgers was one that was great. Back, Randy, you and Riley were over there when we came into the HP family from the 3PAR acquisition.
That's
and
right.
I remember because I've spent the large part of my career specifically competing against HPE or HP back in the day, and I remember you and Chris Riley saying, "Hey, Ash, just we're here. We know what you expect. Just give us a chance." And so, yeah, certainly that was a really big deal. But today, the people that we're out there on the front line with, I've lost track of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
Leslie Maher, I think, still's running the
yeah,
North America program. So she's
George Hope, big deal. Another long-time relationship there with George has been really instrumental, and Leslie as well.
Excellent, great.
So, over the years is Peter Quirk. I mean, these were guys.
Quirker, yeah, absolutely. So this may be self-serving. I don't know. Has Hogan reached out to you since he's been at Beyond Identity?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, so we will. So hopefully, Bill, we're teeing this up for you well. So he's at this cool security company. So Bill says, "Good to see Ashby. Would love to hear how you adopt new technology partners and advice on how to best engage with business owners." We'll kind of maybe after you answer this, then we'll maybe get into kind of your PE deal and next to net. But with I'd say integrators like you in opening up new revenue streams. So Bill's trying to approach you. Bill, Beyond Identity wants to kind of what's your roadmap?
Yeah, I think an OEM's message to an integrator is twofold, and so because I've done this role in a previous.
Yeah. And keep on, they're not necessarily sort of OEM, but it's kind of a new technology partner. It's not not a big boy.
Yeah. Well, I represent a technology that is going to be disruptive in a positive way for your customers. And it's a technology that is, if adopted, is going to make life better in this particular scenario for your customer. So if we hear that this technology is going to make things better, then we're very interested. So that's one product that startup companies have, even established big companies have, is about their technology. That's the one thing that they have to sell us, right? Is the technology is going to make a difference. The other thing is the partner program. we've got to be able to, integrators have got to be able to feel safe that they are going to engage with an OEM and that they're going to stand true to the partnership. It's the thing we talked about earlier. If there's a registration program, if there's integrity that matches the registration program, then we know our money's good. We know we're going to be safe. We're not going to be undercut for the time we invest. The technology is going to be really life-changing for our customers. We will adopt that and be all over that. We love that. So I think you got two products to sell: your technology and your partner program.
Excellent. All right, Bill, feel free. You got a live sales call going on here, so feel free to chime in with anything else. Back from Jesse. LinkedIn has been wrongfully putting sales in jail for automating their job. Two-part question. Would you bail your sales team out? I'll answer that knowing Ashby. The answer would be yes. Should automation be okay for teams on LinkedIn?
All right. So do you understand what he's asking there, Randy? I'm not exactly sure I follow what he's asking there.
Yeah. So I think the concept of kind of leveraging LinkedIn, there's a lot of automation tools and things, and I'll say bots and virtual assistants that you can use versus just doing manual. And sometimes, like if somebody goes in and does maybe 1,000 in a day, kind of think red flags go off in LinkedIn. So I know you'd always support your teams. So there's no issue there. And you may not be as familiar on kind of what you're doing or how you're doing it around that sales automation process.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, I think there's a balance to strike there, right? I mean, the risk that LinkedIn starts just getting run over with just automated bot type of communication. I think we're going to lose the value that is the LinkedIn community that's valuable to us. I mean, I think that one of the aspects of it that makes it so good is when you're in there, that you're hearing directly from the people that are in there, and I think that's very valuable. So I think there's a balance there. Just got to be careful with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how you think back in the old days for those younger folks. I mean, we'd actually have to go through lists and cold call and ask who the data processing manager was, and then now just the things you can do on LinkedIn in 5 minutes, would have taken us 5 days or 50 days to do. So from Liam Hogan, Liam, good to see you. At a quick glance, Veristor has 49 companies listed as security partners. So in case you couldn't tell, Bill Hogan's son, Liam, great sales rep, also Beyond Identity, recently joined. Yeah. So anyway, so you got 49 security companies as partners. I imagine more of that just have paper. What are some things early stage startups have done well to get yours and your sales team's attention without an extended history together? So I think you've probably already mentioned some of that, but if I maybe lead off some words in your mouth, I think certainly any opportunities, if they show up and say, hey, here's 2 or 3 sales opportunities we'd like to run through with you, so that way it helps you get familiarity with what we do, how we do it. I assume that's almost a no-brainer, right?
That's right. I mean, one thing, Randy, we worked on hard here is, and I've reprimanded many a sales rep in our 20 years, and that is, do not ask a manufacturer, an OEM, for a lead. Don't ask that. If we do what we say that we're going to do, if we are who we say we are, we will get plenty of opportunities and introductions from them because they're going to want to work with us. So our culture is that. With that said, nobody learns faster than when they're working on an opportunity together. So I would say if there's an introduction that an OEM can bring to an integrator, don't look at it as I brought you a lead, you owe me one. I just feel like that's kind of small potatoes. Have people learn through deals, and the quicker you can get to that, regardless of who brought in who, then the quicker you can do so much more.
Absolutely. So it sounds like maybe Liam will be the your rep calling on you there at Veristor. Yeah. And then when he chimes back in from our LinkedIn automation question before with a great point, LinkedIn should be leveraged as a sales tool that provides some personalization to it. So if I translate, I think Wendy's take is obviously LinkedIn a great tool, but you should be reaching out with something specific. So if somebody's reaching out to you as an example, they would mention, hey, Ashby would like to connect with you. Congratulations, you've got all these different awards. You're fantastic within the Southeast. Here's some other partners that we are working with that are maybe around the country. So just some idea of some specific thing as opposed to, hey, just generic email that somebody could send to 1,000 people. So personalization like that, I think is what Wendy's talking about there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So, and then what else we have here? A couple shout outs. Murray Granger was in some of the chat before. We didn't pull him up, but don't worry about it, Tucker. And then Jesse, then Bill Hogan also mentioned Frank Rausch. So from a channel perspective, you probably mentioned left off his name, but certainly he's a channel icon.
Yes.
To say the least. Actually spoke to him this morning, so he's doing great at
great friend and another real pro, and has been really helpful to us for a long time. And thank you, Frank.
So fantastic. So thanks everybody with the questions and comments. Feel free to keep them going. You completely messed up all my prep, but this is what it's all about. So a couple highlights I'll try and get to here. Maybe talk about your PE deal and the merger with the Nexanet. Kind of how did it happen? How's it going?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're almost 90 days in. It's going great. I mean, certainly our time is spread thin, but it's under the umbrella that there's so much good things going on. And I think that what we've put together here is certainly one of the fullest capable solutions integrators, certainly in the eastern half of the United States, with the Nexanet and Veristor coming together. And so, known to leadership, the CEO there is Brian Gallant. Go back about 25 years with Brian, and we've had this opportunity many times over our years at Veristor, and it was all about finding the right people to do it with. And with Millpoint as the private equity group and Brian, it really lined up well for us. And then the overlap, the capabilities and the portfolios of the respective organizations between Veristor and Nexanet, we are this full service solution provider. And I think this is really, really important to that of the OEMs is, there are different types of resellers, VARs, integrators, and they all are a little bit different. You've got the ones that hang out in procurement and they have back-end programs, rebates for customers on that kind of that commodity type of motion. Yep. They're great companies. But where we're different is from storage conversations, and that I'm just going to describe this because I think that this is the kind of solutions provider that OEMs would really benefit by. And when you can find them, you should partner with them. But for somebody that knows storage and security and networking and has managed services on backup, disaster recovery, SOC as a service, all these different types of managed services, along with the ability to finance, along with the ability to do automation today, which is a new thing. It's not new from people wanting it, but certainly new from people that are capable of delivering it in the way that we are. I think you got to have a complete understanding and vision of that all those different discussion points to be able to have the right conversations the customers are looking for. You can't just have the one lane that you do and not understand the entire environment to give yourself the best chance of being successful. And that's what we're capable of doing. And really, really excited about what we've got going on. And I think as we rebrand this and come out here sometime, maybe, hopefully by the end of the year with the new brand, then people will see what we're talking about.
That's great. You just call it Veristor and Nexanet, and you're good to go. I mean, it must be hard. So you're actually thinking about changing the name?
We're going through a rebrand exercise as we speak. We just kicked that off, and so at some point, we'll once we find the right name that's meaningful to our employees, meaningful to customers and partners, in a vision that they can believe in, then we'll launch that, and it'll be an exciting time for us.
That's tough, right? Because you have, both have great brands. It's kind of on some of the other day, like Truist, right? It's like everyone's like, who's Truist or what is it? Well, it's comes from some other great companies and you don't know and everything else. But I'll let you figure that out. And then next to net is still kind of Philly based.
Yeah, it's the Northeast, but yes, headquartered out of Philadelphia, and so not a lot of overlap with us, but combined, we got an Eastern Seaboard presence with our full service capabilities. It makes us very, very unique. So, yep, absolutely.
Does that mean you're gonna have to go to some Eagle games and act like you want them to win?
That's exactly what it means.
By the way, what's up with your trading Matty Ice?
Yeah, it's a crazy time, not just in the world, but I mean, the NFL is pretty crazy now too, with all this quarterback shuffling going on. But well, Matty Ice is, I think he's gonna light it up in Indy.
Yeah, great. Sounds like great setup.
Yeah.
So let's at least try and get to the title topic. I think you covered some of it already, but the integrators and VARs bringing value to the end users and vendors. Besides what you've already said, kind of during the course of this, any other pieces you'd want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just as we look back on our time in this industry, right? I mean, just when we all talk about value added resellers, it's always the first thought is, oh, that's somebody who brings value to customers, right? And that's not that's inaccurate at all. It's absolutely accurate. And then you got to define what that means. And I think that we've built an organization that our value is we bring expertise to the conversation and help customers figure out what they should be moving forward with, what solutions, with who. That we're important to help figure out what you should be buying, right? That's a value that's presented to the end user. But the other opportunity, and the thing that no one talks about, is the value that's expected from the OEMs. They're looking for things too, and as I think the opportunity for us to provide that value, and like if an OEM gives us an introduction into an opportunity, they're not looking for us to necessarily close it. What they're looking for us is to make sure that we're on top of it and that we communicate back to them where it is, what the latest communication is, what we find out. That is value. That is someone who was an OEM salesperson for a large part of my career. When I found an integrator that did that, that was very valuable to me. Actually, when I gave them a lead, I didn't give it to them with the expectations that they were going to close it. If I gave it to them, I knew that person was I didn't have to worry about it. They were going to always keep me in the loop on where it was. So we work real hard. And I think that's where integrators and resellers sometimes forget. But that value back to the manufacturer is so critically important. And that's another example of, if you do that, guess who they're going to give you the next lead to? They know that you got it. And if there's an opportunity to go get done there, you're going to be the ones that are going to do it for them. So value goes both directions in this business. And, the other thing, talent resource limitation that we're all faced with. And partner community is becoming more and more and more important. Companies aren't going to just build huge sales organizations. They can't hire enough people to get to all the market. Right. Is controlled by partners. So again, partners are going to be really, really important. Bringing value through communication and just knowing what they're talking about is really, really important. So I think it's something that we work hard on every day, and I think that's something that other integrators can do better all the time. And this should be something that OEMs should be looking for when they're trying to find a partner.
Great. I'll put you on the spot. Any of your, say, kind of favorite OEM partners or kind of preferred partners, or kind of who'd you put on your short list?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with the NX and that merger coming together is, our largest partnership is HPE. Again, it's great portfolio, and to be able to wake up every day and combined with a great partner program makes them really easy to do business with. And all across the board from their whole portfolio to Aruba and Silver Peak and the traditional server, the compute and the storage stuff too. So they're a really big partner. Certainly I mean, from the networking and security side, there's lots of different partnerships there from Palo Alto and Sentinel. Those are great partners, and Arctic Wolf, just to name a few. But yeah, those are Commvault. Metallic is certainly a big partnership for us. I would also say Atlassian. Atlassian's a big partner.
Awesome, cool. So on if HP is your biggest, I'm sure you're on very much on Paul Hunter's radar. So hopefully he's coming to you every month or every quarter and saying, okay, Ashby, yeah, you're going to do X% of my business. So
yeah,
hopefully that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would also add Cisco is doing a lot of great things for us. That business is growing too, and they've been fun to work with too.
All right, awesome. All right, we are just about done here. I'll just kind of put in a plug. You're also within with CRN, which is Channel Reseller News, is the primary, I would call it trade rag, but kind of communication vehicle, I guess, for the channel community these days. Lots of awards, but I think most notably is the Triple Crown winner, where you won in all categories. And I think there's only 40 or 50 in the country. And within the Southeast, there's a total of 3 or 4, but you were the only one that basically does what you do. So certainly tons of awards you have from all the different OEMs and everything else. But, within your space, that CRN is the cream of the cream. So congratulations for doing so great there. And I know you'll certainly continue.
No, thank you, Randy. I mean, it takes a team. We couldn't have done any of that stuff without the people that we have, and just being professionals and just doing what they do every day, as well as all the partners that we do it with. So I appreciate that.
That's great. So if Nour was on, he'd ask if there's any PG Randy stories. So don't want to put you on the spot. If you have anything great, if not, don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, certainly back in our EMC days, Randy. I mean, just we've had some many good stories with the limo races in Washington D.C. Were some fun times. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Those were fun times.
There you go. All right, we're keeping it PG. So Ashby been fantastic. We, as I said, you didn't get through anywhere near what I thought we're going to do. So, but it's great because obviously you have a fantastic following with all the questions and comments that we received. So can't thank you enough. And thanks to Sendoso. Love this.
Yeah,
so you totally sent it, and we'll continue to send it to sell more. So next week, subject to me not messing up the scheduling, I think we're going to have Bill Swales. It's going to be episode number 76.
Be good.
He's at VMware, VP and Channel Chief of the Americas, and Bill well as well, correct?
Yeah, Bill's great. That'll be a great one.
Fantastic. So actually, you didn't put down VMware on your list of primary partners. They deserve to go in there.
We go back in our relationship with VMware back to 2006. We were one of the first 4 companies actually to provide disaster recovery as a service in the world based on VMware. So we go back a long way with them. And I will say that we were VMware Partner of the Year down here in the Southeast a time ago. And then, I would say the last 5 or so years, our business kind of went backwards. But it is now that they've spun off now, we've got momentum going and things are starting to really garner some attention. So I'm excited to see that we're back getting it going with them again. So I'm glad to hear the Bill's there because he'll make a big difference.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. Well, have a great week. Awesome as I expected. And we'll go from there. Everybody, thanks so much. This gets rebroadcast. If you or your teams want to learn more, sell more, check out Sales Community. You can also go to the top of Sales Community page. We also have a free newsletter, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for all you do, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks. See ya.